Knitters, crocheters, welcome to the Wandering Knitter YouTube channel. If you are interested in hearing about some fellow knitters' stories throughout her knitting journey and life journey in general, wandering the world, please sit down, grab something to crochet or knit on, or a nice warm glass of tea, or if it's the evening, a glass of wine, and let's get talking. So, this is episode 1, and I decided for this channel, I'm going to, for each episode or vlog, it's going to be divided into the nitty gritty and life unraveled. So we're going to get started with the nitty gritty, where I'm going to talk about knitting and crocheting. Mainly knitting, because I am mainly a knitter. Crocheting I do, but very rarely. And yeah, disclaimer, if you hear a cat, I have a very talkative cat, and so you'll probably hear her trying to put in her 2 cents throughout this vlog. It is still January of 2025, so I decided for the first episode, I'm going to talk about what I knitted in 2024. And we'll start with my FOs, or finished objects. I will get more into it in the second part, but I really had like a very long hiatus of knitting and crocheting. I didn't knit or crochet for a good, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years, and I came back to it just a couple of months ago. So what I knitted in 2024 is not much, but we'll go ahead and get started with them. I'll give you a little sneak peek if you want. So we're gonna start with a big crochet project, but we will be getting to some others after this one. So I'm gonna start with this project, which I'm ridiculously proud of for all my crocheters out there. It is huge, so I will have to back up to show you the whole thing. This is the Granny Stripes blanket. It's a memories blanket, and it's by Lucy of Attic 24. I have my Ravelry open here, so I have all of the technical information for you guys available. Let me back up so you can see this beauty. I can't even open the whole thing. I would say it fits like a full-sized bed, maybe even a queen. I love this. So colorful. I started this project, this blanket, in 2016. That is 8 years, y'all. Took me 8 years to do this. Obviously, I knitted on it a lot in the beginning, and then around 2017, I stopped with the crafting, and I only knitted on it occasionally, like when I was Netflixing or I don't know. Actually, some of this too, my mother-in-law worked a little bit on it, and my mother. When they would come over to visit us, especially when I was pregnant, they would be bored, and I'd be like, "You want to just work on this crochet blanket a little bit?" So this is one of my most pride and treasured things. I feel like if there were a fire in the house, this would be something I would definitely grab to. I mean, maybe not. I would grab my son and my cat, but let's say after I grabbed them, I still had time, I would get this. It means a lot to me, this blanket. It took so many years, and all of this yarn are scrap yarns from projects from the past. And also, some of this yarn is also scrap yarns from my friends. There was a time when I was in a knitting group, and we decided we were all doing something similar, and in general, it's really nice to have scraps. And we decided to do a scrap yarn exchange. And so I gave some of my scrap yarn and they traded it. We all traded it within each other. So there are some yarns in here that are my friends' scrap yarns from their projects. And it's just like, every time I have this out, for me personally, I see it and I'm like, oh, I can remember. I have so many memories, and it reminds me of all these periods in my life and all these people in my life in every sense. Whereas whether they worked on this or they gave me some yarn, and it's just such a treasure. Like, it's just something where I see it, and it's the closest thing I'll ever get to making something tangible that is untangible, which are your memories. And so it's an amazing project. Let me just give you some information about it. This, if you're interested in it, it is called the Granny Stripes pattern, and it's by a Northern England British designer called Lucy of Attic 24. It's a really simple pattern, crochet pattern, and once you get it, you don't even have to follow it after a while. You just it's just so intuitive and it's so easy. So all of this information will be on my Ravelry page, which will be linked on my YouTube channel. I keep my Ravelry page super updated, and so you can actually go on my Ravelry page and see all of the pictures from the years when I started it. As I progressed, I like to put pictures up on there of even when I'm in the middle of projects, and so I have a lot of work in progress pictures of this. And so, yeah, I just wanted to say that if you have a lot of extra yarn hanging around and you don't know what to do with it, this is great. Now that I have been using it for a good, I don't know, I finished this, I want to say, let me check my Ravelry page. I finished it at the end of November, like right around Thanksgiving, if you're American. So like the last week of November. We've been using it just kind of as a throw. Like, we have it on the couch and we use it while we watch TV. Sometimes I put it on the floor when my toddler's playing. I have yet to big wash it. All of these yarns have been washed, but I've never washed the entire thing together. And I'm really nervous about it because I just know, because I've used many of these yarns before, that some of these yarns do bleed. So if you guys have any suggestions on how to clean this, like a memories blanket that has so many colors, I know the only thing I know that I'm thinking at the moment is I'm going to put it in cold water and put a little bit of vinegar in it, because I've heard that the vinegar can help with the to stop it from bleeding the colors. So if any of you have tried that and it works, please let me know, or if you have a better suggestion. So yeah, that's this project. And look, man, even if you don't know like the story behind all these yarns, it's a beautiful just blanket to have around, especially in the winter when everything is so gloomy and cold. You have this big bright happiness ball that you can just cuddle in, and it's my favorite. It's really the best. Now it's just all downhill from here because just can't beat this. Okay, so next we're gonna get to my rye socks. Well, they're not mine actually. They are my toddler's. I have a toddler. He's 2.5 years old, and I made him a pair of socks by the Canadian designers Tin Can Knits. You might have heard of them. If they are amazing, I'll get into them. And here are the socks. This is the pattern is called Rye Socks. And again, all of my information is on Ravelry. You can find my Ravelry page through my YouTube channel. And let's just go ahead and talk about what for me is the elephant in the room. Yeah. One sock is definitely bigger than the other. Oh my gosh. So this is the first knitting project I did after my hiatus of however many years that was of not knitting. Only knitting. I did knit, but just not very much. And before 2018, I was knitting socks two at a time, always. And for some reason, when I started to knit these, I was like, who needs to do two at a time? I can do these separately. And I don't know which one I knitted first, but obviously, my following the pattern and it saying knit until this many centimeters, I messed up on one of them. Both the length and the width. Because if you can see this one, look at that. Anyways, I'm not here trying to act like I'm a perfect knitter because I'm not. I'm learning here. We all are. I've been knitting for over 10 years, but we're all still making mistakes and learning. And this is just part of being human. And so, yeah. Anyways, now that is out of the way, you know that this problem has nothing to do with the pattern. It has to do with the knitter. So I just want to really wax poetic about this pattern and about the designers because they deserve credit. This is by Tin Can Knits. And if you have never heard of them, go do yourself a favor and look online about them, like on Ravelry, or just do a search. They do many, many, many patterns for free. And they're really basic patterns, but they're patterns that are changeable. You can, depending on so many factors, like it factors in size, and not just size for like, oh, okay, for an adult you have small, medium, large. Like it even goes to baby, toddler, children. Like, so they really give you free patterns for every age and size and for yarn weight. And so whenever you start a pattern, right, like maybe you see one of their socks or their hat or something and you really want to do it, but your yarn, you have a specific yarn that you want to use. Well, more than likely they have altered the pattern for each type of weight that at least like a couple of weights that you can use. And so it's really great for in general, if like you want to just use the yarn that you have and you just want an easy project. Tin Can Knits, they really make it accessible. And so and one thing I want to show, and I just found out from when I was knitting these socks, is that they made an app. It's mainly free. There is like a paid for version, but I've been using the free one, and it is great because, like I said, that you can change the pattern, and it's so diverse. The pattern, you can on their app. I'll show you. You can change on there and choose the size. You can choose the weight of yarn. You can put your gauge in there. You can put all the information on there so that you will only see the pattern for the exact size and tailored to you pretty much. And so that's great because for any of you knitters who have followed patterns, it can be difficult sometimes when you are following a pattern and you're always reading the pattern for like 5 sizes at the same time, and you have to always find the size that you're knitting, and just kind of like ignore the rest of the information because those don't pertain to you. And so I really like this app. I'm not gonna sit here and like I'm not really I've always been into just Ravelry and using the patterns like that, but when I saw this Tin Can Knits app, I was like, wow, somebody really made something amazing. And like I said, it's like mainly free. There is a pay for version, but can I just say, like, Tin Can Knits, thank you so much for existing and for just making all this stuff available to knitters and for people who want to knit, because you really do make it easier to get into the craft. And so, yeah, this is the sock I did. My son loves these socks, absolutely loves them. I will say the one problem I'm having with is that it's so slick here. And so it's fine if he wears these with shoes, there's no problem. But if he's wearing these inside the house, it is pretty slick. And so maybe if I make these again next time, not only will I knit them two at a time, I will also maybe instead of doing like a stockinette stitch on the bottom, maybe I'll do some kind of like ribbing or something, or some kind of like I'll just add some pearls in there sometime to kind of give it a little bit of resistance on the floor. Or I don't know, maybe there exists something I can just like sew into it that will make it anti slip. So if any of you guys have any suggestions on that for kids, for socks for kids, please let me know. And let's talk about the yarn. So this is actually yarn. This is scrap yarn from back in 2017. This is by Plies and Hellhounds, and the colorway is Mustard Life. Really interesting, right? I don't know if my phone is getting the color, but it is a very mustardy yellow. I would say it's more towards like a instead of like a French mustard, it's more towards like that mustard you get in those yellow plastic containers. Like it's more yellow, like a strong yellow. And then the tweed with the black and these little speckles really makes it mustardy looking. I love it. It's like it really does remind you of mustard, and I'm happy. Mustard in in a very positive way. And so I really like it. Plies and Hellhounds, she still makes yarn. She's a indie dyer, and she lives in um, I don't remember the state, but she lives in the US, and she lives like in the northern area. She has a podcast, vlog, YouTube channel, and I've always been watching her, and I really like to support indie dyers who make great YouTube channels. And so I was supporting her for a while. I don't live in the US anymore, so it's more difficult for me, and it's kind of too expensive to be buying a bunch of indie dyed yarns from the US and stuff. So I don't know if I'm gonna be buying much from her anymore just because of where I live, but if I could, I would. This yarn is, let me check on Ravelry. It is a super wash, 85% wool, the blue faced Leicester wool, and 15% um, some kind of plastic. So, and it's tweedy. So, that is this yarn. I'm very happy with it. I'll go ahead and tell you that I've put this in the washing machine many times, and I think considering that it is super washed and that it has that plastic in it, that little bit of plastic, it's so great because I can just stick it in the washing machine. And for being a mom, come on, that's what I need. I don't need no extra, having to have to wash my son's socks by hand. In general, whenever I knit socks, I like them to be 75% wool, 15% acrylic or some kind of plastic, and superwash, because that makes it sturdy, and it gives you the possibility to possibly put it in the washing machine. But obviously that's up to you if you want to live life on the edge like that and try to put it in the washing machine. Okay, so now that I've waxed my poetic about tin can knits, let's move on to something I knit for my husband that has no pattern. And I just used my scrap yarn. This is a project that my husband requested. It is a snood, so it's a infinity scarf. It goes like this, and I probably have some footage of him wearing it. He loves this. He loves neon colors. He loves big bright colors. And so he was like, "Please make me a scarf out of that." And I'm like, "Are you sure? Because that's pretty bright." And you want to know something? It actually looks pretty great on him, and he gets a lot of compliments. And so, kudos for my husband for understanding color better than me, because I thought it was going to be ridiculously ugly. Um, I just pretty much was like, I'm using the yarn that I had. I tried to do different designs. I usually don't do color work, and this kind of just really opened me up to color work, and I really wanted to do it more, as you will see with my next project. So I'm just happy that my husband likes it. Um, it's really warm, and I will say in the inside there is a little bit of pilling going on, but it's not too bad considering that he's wearing this every day right now. It's I think with a deep pillar I can probably fix that, but the outside is not pilling, and so that's great. And yeah, so that's this project. The last project that I knitted in 2024, I'm really proud of, and I wear it all the time these days. Every day I'm wearing this. And these are my Night Walk mittens by Running Yarn. Let me show you the back. I believe that Running Yarn, the designer behind it, I don't know where, according to her social media accounts, she lives in both Switzerland and northern Sweden. Lucky for her. So I that's all I know. And yeah, I love this. This is a pattern that I got on Ravelry. It is a paid for pattern, but I find it a great pattern, and it is very useful. It's a good one to buy. It's not that expensive, and she gives you kind of like different ideas, like different design ideas for the back. So if you don't want it like this, she gives you other options, which is great. So let me just talk about the pattern, and then I'll get into the yarn and how it's been wearing. So this I knitted. I had to swatch it first, and I had to use 3.5 millimeter needles. I picked the design on the back that was less crazy and hectic. I kind of wanted this more uniformed look. It is pilling. We will get to that later. I would say it's a good project if you are not really comfortable with color work. It's a good one. I learned a lot with this project. I learned about like the dominant color, which I didn't realize was a thing, but apparently with knitting, it makes a difference when you're doing color work, where your yarn is being held, like which one is in your right hand versus your left hand. It makes a little bit of a difference in the way that the pattern shows up. And so you have your dominant color, and I learned about that through this project. So this yarn, this is all yarn that I bought at a local yarn shop near me. I bought this at Ribbles in Leiden, and it most of it is Lana Grossa, cool wool, big vintage. And so I have all this information on my Ravelry page. You can see it. This is a worsted weight yarn. The pattern calls for Aran weight, but because I went to this knitting store, this yarn store, I bought what I could get, and I got this worsted weight. I talked with the ladies at the store. They're really helpful. And she was telling me, I think you can do it with worsted weight, which obviously is true. Let me go ahead and put these on so you can see what they look like. I love these. I wear them every day because I bike around. We don't have a car and we bike around. And so these are what I wear when I bike, and it's what I wear when we walk around. Sometimes when my son is in daycare, my husband and I, we go and we take walks on the beach, and these are my gloves right now, y'all. I am in love with these gloves. I'm gonna be honest, this kind of style, which is kind of like your, uh, I guess your like traditional color work from like Scandinavian Nordic countries, right? I've always wanted to knit these or something similar, but I've always lived in warm climates, and I could never find an excuse to knit these. Even if I use like the thinnest of yarns made of, I don't know, linen or cotton or something, I would never find a use for these where we were living before. And so I'm so happy, and I'm gonna knit more of these. I have this pattern, I love it. I think I'm gonna use this pattern more to make more. Yeah. Now let's talk a bit about some changes I want to make whenever I knit these again, because I've been wearing these a lot. If you can see here, it's definitely pilling in the back. I mean, this part here, the inside part, which makes sense because I'm holding the bike like this, and it's where I'm, touching things the most. It's pilling. Look at that. Okay. I think the problem here is my own. I bought this yarn. Let's see what it is. Yeah, it is 100% virgin merino wool. Merino wool is so great, so you can just imagine how soft this is. However, because it is 100% wool and it's not a super washed, yeah, you have this pilling happening here. Um, I do have a deep pillar. I need to. It's in the U.S. right now. I need to wait for it to arrive here, but I will try and depill this and see if that fixes this enough. But I think next time when I make these, because they are getting so much, tension, and just they're getting so much rubbing over here, I think I'm going to make them out of maybe like a merino wool mix, 75%, and then like the socks, right? Because, yeah, so maybe 75% wool, and the rest will be some kind of acrylic. I think that will probably be the best idea if I don't want it to pill like this. And so, yeah. So now let's talk about my works in progress, or WIPs. I have two right now. I have this pattern here that I'm working on. I love it. It is called the Kuitva. It is, and it's by Tetiana Wyazovska. Wyazovska. She is Ukrainian designer, and this pattern is actually originally written in Ukrainian, but it is available in many languages, including English, which is what I'm using. This is actually a free pattern on Ravelry, but I actually didn't find it on Ravelry, which is interesting. I found it on the Hobbii website. Hobbii, if you've ever heard of them, it's Hobbii, is like a yarn. It's is it Danish? I think it's a Danish yarn company, but these are fingerless mitts. It's too cold right now to use fingerless mitts, so I'm not in a rush to finish this, but yeah, so the right hand is finished. I just need to block these, and then I'm doing the left hand right now. So intricate, this pattern, which is why I love it. It has this like kind of flowery design throughout. And the yarn is by Hobbii. So obviously they want you they're giving you this free pattern in the hopes that you buy their yarn, which I did, because I actually am really this time around, I'm really, as I come back into the crafting world, I'm really trying to still support indie dyers and local yarn dyers, and I think that's important, you know, to support locals and not always go to big corporations. But I do want to try and use more affordable yarns as well. And so Hobie, I just got introduced to them, and they have really great prices and really great choice, and so I'm hoping to keep shopping with them. So this is their unicorn solid yarn, and this is in the army green colorway. This is 75% merino and 25% nylon polyamide. So I think these will definitely handle my biking and my usage whenever it gets warmer, when I can use these. So I have a feeling I'm going to like this yarn better than my other gloves, but time will only tell. Yeah, so the yarn itself I'm happy with right now. Obviously, I don't want to I don't want to tell you exactly how I feel until I've used it more and worn it, to tell like about pilling and how it blocks and how it goes in the washer, and because I don't know yet. I haven't decided if I'm gonna clean these in the washing machine or if I'll wash them by hand. Probably by hand, but because this is one of the hardest projects I've ever worked on, ever. Let me go ahead and talk to you about that. So I'm knitting size 2 of the project of this pattern. This is just so difficult for me. I actually had to rip back twice. So I restarted this project 3 times. On this glove. Knock on wood, I have not yet had to rip back on this pair, but let me just go ahead and get into it. The designer, amazing designer. I've seen her other works, and she really knows what she's doing, and she's really advanced. And with this pattern, you can tell nothing is basic. The cast on is not basic. The ribbing is not basic. This little tubular part here, not basic. This part here, these little cute flowers that you see, oh, they're so cute. Not basic. All of this is like very advanced. And so I would like to say I almost frogged this pattern completely because of just the amount of like times I messed up. I probably should have used some kind of like what are those called? Like the lines you put in to save your projects if you need to rip back. I really should have. But I will say, if I could give any advice to the world, the knitting world out there, if you are looking for a knit that is easy and mindless, or if you have a kid, or you're just a really busy person and you don't have the time to dedicate to really focusing on the pattern and what you're doing, I wouldn't suggest this. I would say wait until you have that time. And when you have that time, then you can work on this, because there's literally like maybe 3 rows that are easy, that are just stockinette. But the rest is pretty difficult. However, if you're a knitter and you're trying to up your game and you want to level up and learn a lot of more advanced techniques, this is great. I learned some really cool cast on ideas. This whole ribbing section here, it's not your average ribbing. It's not just knit purl. It is a twisted rib, which I always knew about, but I never did, and it comes out looking way cleaner. Obviously, it's not what you have to relearn doing a rib. You have to learn how to do it this way, but I like it. And these little tubular sections here were very difficult for me, but once I got the hang of it, it's actually a really great skill to have, and it's something that you can utilize and you can use in many patterns. Like if you decide, oh, I'm making gloves and I kind of want this little, you know, tube section here, you can do it. It's on other patterns. And so once you learn it, so and then this part here, I will say with these flowers, it's probably the most difficult, because I will say there is a part here where you have to purl 8 at the same time. So, you know, or not purl, sorry, knit 8 together. Yeah. So usually when you do a knit 2 together, you are knitting 8 together. Okay. So yeah, get your crochet hook, bring it with you, and use a lifeline. That's the word. Yes. I would definitely suggest using a lifeline for these. And so, yeah, hoping next video I can show you these completed, and we'll see how we feel about this Hobie yarn. I am knitting the 5010 Telemark cardigan by Sanya's Garn. It is a Norwegian pattern, and it is by Sanya's Yarn. The pattern is not free. You will have to buy it. The only thing I have to show you is my swatch. So I have a little swatch journal, and I will show you my swatch so you can get an idea of the colors I'm going to use. So there's my swatch. And here's my beautiful little swatch journal. I love this thing. If you guys are interested, let me know and I could explain to you more about my swatch journal. I was under the assumption, obviously it was an incorrect assumption, that because I live in the Netherlands, I could easily get yarn from Norway, because compared to where I was before in the US, I am relatively close. Obviously, close is subjective, and I'm not close enough. I talked with them and I wanted to get this yarn from them, and they had told me that the yarn, that specific yarn, Tove, the sport weight one, has been discontinued. Whether that's true or not, I'm not sure, but that's the information I got. And the yarn that I wanted, the colors, were no longer available. And so I wasn't able to get this yarn. I tried other shops. I looked, this is me looking online. I checked for other shops. And for those that had Sanya's Garn, they did not have this one, the Tove. And so I tried my best, y'all. I really did. I tried to use the yarn that they request, and it wasn't possible. So I went ahead and I went back to what might become my favorite, but I'm not sure. Hobie. Got me some Hobie yarn. I did a lot of research online. I tried to find me something similar. This yarn, the weight is not sport. It is actually, this is a DK, so it's thicker, and because of that, I'm having issues getting gauge. So I was really looking forward to using the Sanya's Garn yarn, but you know, c'est la vie. This is a 100% wool, and it's actually very much more affordable. You know, if I were to get the Nordic yarn, it would have been way more expensive. First of all, just to get it to where I'm at, and then because it is a more expensive yarn. So I'm going towards a more affordable yarn. Feeling it in the skein, it's not very itchy. I think it's going to be a great wear. Let's see how it goes. Obviously, it's color work, so I wanted to get something that was 100% wool, because you do want it to kind of pill a bit. And so that's what I'm using here. I'm not able to get gauge though, so the pattern calls for a specific needle measurement. I went ahead and went down a little bit, and I still didn't get gauge. If I were to make it with what I have on my swatch, the cardigan would be double the size. And so I'm going under this, I'm in the middle of just this like mental conundrum of just what should I do? Should I really go farther down knit my yarn, my needle size, or maybe should I consider doing a smaller size? And so actually I did a lot of the math, which is kind of pretty difficult, but it's possible if you have the time to really sit down and think about it. I think I'm gonna have to go down like 2 sizes for the pattern. For this pattern wants you to have some kind of like positive ease, and I did my bust measurements. I added the positive ease, and from what that is, if I had the correct yarn and I got gauge, I should be knitting the 3rd size. But because my gauge is just so ridiculously off, let me go ahead and just tell you guys, so in case there's somebody here who is really good at making cardigans and sweaters, please help me. I need some help right now. This pattern calls for a 24 stitch stockinette gauge with size 3.5 millimeter needles. So that would be, your 10 centimeters, or your, I guess, 4 inches if you're in the US. I used size 3.25 millimeter needles, so a little tiny bit smaller. And unblocked, I got, let's see, my width is 32 stitches. And then when I blocked it, my width went up to 33 stitches. So the pattern calls for 24 stitches, and I'm off. I'm so off. Even my length is really off, but that's more fixable than the width. And so my idea, after I divided this to figure out how many stitches am I getting in 1 inch, and then I checked and I saw the pattern to see how many stitches I'm casting on. I've come to the conclusion that I need to go down to the extra small. So the smallest size there is, I need to knit. And I actually also need to go down in my knitting needle size. So I think tomorrow when I go meet with this girl for a knitting meetup, I'm going to do another swatch, and I'm going to use smaller needles. Then I'm going to do that math again and see if I can get it. I think if worst case scenario, I'm going to have a more oversized cardigan, but that's kind of the style right now, oversized. So as long as it's not too oversized, I think it can be managed. The last section of this vlog is called Life Unraveled, and let's just make this short and sweet. I'm going to be talking a bit about life here, and if you guys have any questions for me, please put it in the comments, and my next video I'll try to answer any questions you might have. So I just want to talk about where I'm living and why I stopped knitting, and how things have changed since then with my knitting habits. So let's just go ahead and talk about where I'm living. So we live in the Netherlands, and I live in a beach town called Noordwijk, and yes, we're so happy here. This is something that we've been planning for years, and the fact that it's finally come to fruition is amazing. We didn't think that this would actually come to happen, but it has, and we are so happy. Our toddler, his name is Leonardo, and he's 2.5 years old. He's loving it. He's doing daycare here, and his daycare is in Dutch, and we're hoping that he will learn the language a bit, and yeah, we are living our life here. And I am originally from the United States. I've lived in many different states. Just to give you some, I was born and raised in California. I've lived in Virginia, North Carolina, Ohio, Texas. Yeah. So, and we decided to move to Europe. My husband is Italian. We've lived in Italy as well, and we decided we wanted to be close to family, his family, but not necessarily living in Italy. Italy, there's not really much job opportunity for us, and I don't know. There's some. I'm not going to get into it unless you guys want me to, but we let's just say that we're really happy that we're here in the Netherlands. We hope to give our son a really great future here, and we'll see how long we're here. We're here for at least 2 years, and we're really trying to make it. We're in the process right now of trying to make it be longer than 2 years, so we'll see how that happens. Nisa, you want to go outside? My cat, she wants to go outside. um, yeah, we love. I love Europe. I really do. I just I've lived in a couple of countries here, and it's just the place where I've always. After I came here, I realized like I need to make it work here in Europe because it's just the lifestyle. I prefer it. We prefer it. Um, so yeah, just a little. If you want to know, I've lived in Finland, Italy, and now the Netherlands. But we're really trying to settle down, and we're trying to make roots. And I think once our son starts school, no more of this wandering around, moving. We really want to hunker down and give him the opportunity to make friends and really bond. And so that's why we're here. um, yeah, and we're so happy. I feel like right now in this time of life, it's the best place we can be. So I'm happy. And yeah, I really quickly for if any of you, I doubt it, but if any of you were watching my past knitting YouTube channel, I did have one back in like 2017 when I was really in my apex of knitting. I stopped. We moved to Houston, Texas, and it was just too hot. And I mean, I've always found even if I lived in hot places, I always found knitters and I always found a group, and it became like my, just the community. It's just so great. And whenever I found knitters, it didn't matter where I was, I would find a way to knit because I loved meeting knitters. And unfortunately, in Houston, it never happened. I never really got into a good group of knitting friends, and it was too hot anyways. And then it got expensive too. Honestly, I was really back then focusing on getting like a lot of more indie dyed yarns and supporting them a lot, and which I want to, but it was really breaking the bank, and it just kind of got a little bit too much, and I completely just one day I was just like, I'm done. This is too much money, too much time, and it's not even fun for me right now. Since we moved since we moved to the Netherlands, it's a lot colder, and I've had more the need to knit, and I'm so excited because I'm able to use these wools and stuff and actually use them. And so I have yet to find a knitting community. I found one girl who is interested in learning to knit and crochet, and we've been knitting together a bit, like for like an hour once a week. But yeah, so I'm just kind of hoping that this time around, when I'm coming into knitting, I'm not gonna. I don't want to give up my indie dyed yarns because I love y'all and I love to support it. And like I said, I'm anti big corporations. If I could support local, I will. If I could support small, I will. But it just comes down to that it's not completely affordable for me to always buy indie dyed and local yarns. So this time around, I will be knitting less from that category of yarn and a little bit more a lot more affordable yarns, and yeah, that's how that's going. Anyways, I'm done here. I hope you guys enjoyed this little chat vlog. If you liked it, please subscribe, and if you have any questions, let me know. If you finish this video all the way through, please leave a comment with an emoji of yarn. I would love to see if anyone gets through this whole video. And if you did, I thank you. Anyways, if you can see my cat, she wants my attention. So I shall be leaving you guys. Happy knitting, happy crocheting.